on. My mom decided to FaceTime me right before the show, guys. So we were just she doesn't know my work schedule yet. I barely know my work schedule, so it's completely understandable. But anyways, we were just having a little chit chat right before the show, and so she's a guest on the show today. Hi, mom.
Hi.
Anyways, love you. I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Love you. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good week. Yeah, God, but I would have just the blessings of the tidings of the good week are upon you. Also, where's the Steph heads? I'm gonna try. Hi, Steph heads. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna be scheduling the morning show as opposed to just you don't need to know this. It's text stuff, blah blah blah. Instead of behind the scenes, just kind of like loading it up with a different stream key every time I pop in for the afternoon like I have to do. But in the mornings, I can schedule it. So I'm going to start scheduling the morning show so that it will already kind of be in existence on whatever platform you are on. So you can hop on even before like while you're there, you can open it in another screen and I'll be right there. Hi, Steph Heads. Be a Steph Head. It's a good thing. Yes, I'm wearing my Taiwan Shiga Guojia shirt because I'm particularly irritated at the like the I'll show you in a minute. When we get there's not a lot of trends this morning. It's interesting. Like the trends this morning are fairly pathetic, and I think it's because of a couple of things. One is uh, between the Deutschland Dilbert and the sort of current state of intellectual dunkism on the right, which is pretty friggin' sad. They've sort of retreated. Like they do it every couple of days, unless something comes out like the whole. Remember Ohio? Remember when nothing was happening in Ohio and Trump had to show up and to get anything to happen, and then that was already happening. Remember that? Remember that 5 years ago when there was a train thing? Right. Here's the problem Republicans have, if I may, about the Ohio train wreck. One is Republican governor. Two is Republican senators. Three is Republican congressional seat in that area and in the general and basically everywhere along the path. Insofar as I know, I don't think there are any Democrats in there. But that's anyways. It's a lot more complicated when you look at who's actually running things. The the town mayor who had no control in this situation, but when Trump loves to blame the mayors for whatever happens in their district, that's all it's kind of hilarious. But in this particular case, this guy obviously a Trump voter, obviously a Trump fan. You did not miss Ficus. He's on a tech hiatus as I rebuild him from scratch. Long story that we'll discuss sometime in the near future. But it is happening, and I'm taking Ficus and making a few tweaks that I think you guys will like. Hang out. So um, that said, the Republicans have this thing where they're like, we the Democrats don't care about you, we do, and then everybody goes, cool. What are you doing to fix this? And they went, I brought snacks from somebody else that I'll take credit for. That was it. And that I mean that's a consistent problem they're facing. That everywhere that when it comes to real solutions, they have to because they're government employees have to solve the problem as a government employee. And then that eats into their whole you can't rely on the government for anything narrative. So they're kind of in a catch 22. They're doubled back on themselves. It'll be very funny to watch. Anyways, hi chat room. Hello. Yes, he is a Snapchat filter. He's a Snapcam filter, and they Snap, the company, has discontinued the Snapcam, the thing you can use on your live streams and all that kind of stuff, like I was using and other people use. They discontinued it as of January. It no longer exists. However, you can make snap lenses for their service using the developer's kit. And so and then I can create kind of like a weird thing where I bring it up on my my desktop and then use that display image of me against my green screen with the filter that I build as a lens on my software. See why it's going to take. See, there's a workaround to use it offline. Excellent. Please point me to whatever paper that is. Tweet it to me and what have you. But I am going to continue to build my own proprietary version of Ficus, where I, make him a little more form fitted to my face and those kind of things, because you can now. It just takes time. Time that I have been, quite frankly, between all the singing I've been doing lately and the lyric learning and the working on my vocals, which is it's a minimum, like I'm doing an hour a day of that. And then I do a half hour of guitar. And then the rest of the day between shows, when I have a Monday, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when I have a morning show and an afternoon show, I'm literally just like watching news while reading news at the same time for basically 3 hours, minimum a day. And then I do the show, eat, and then watch the news. And then I will try my best often to either watch a movie or just hang out with the fam, so we have some time. But during my workday, which is extended from like basically whenever Chip wakes me up to um, whatever news I'm watching while I eat dinner, it's kind of yeah, it's a lot. So I do work hard, and I think I work smart because I double up a lot of things, and I'm very proud of that fact. But Shadow Woman, thank you so much for the gifted subs. I love the fact that was it you that gifted the sub um, to the troll the other day? Hilarious. It got so mad. Where's Chip? He's upstairs annoying Summer. Wow, that was quite a tooth sibilance. Sorry about that if anybody's dog just jumped out a window. Um, uh, the biggest, by the way, since I'm on it's a stampede of like sub stories and subcategorized cul-de-sacs of conversation today. Um, uh, yeah, the loudest ever teeth sibilance ever you will hear in your life is Scatman Crothers in The Shining in the kitchen while he's talking to Danny. Go when he says the word toast, it slices through all known sound barriers and bounces. You'll see what I mean, and you'll never be able to unhear it the next time you watch The Shining. You can even just watch that scene and you'll be like, what the shit? Yeah, we'll talk about Scott Adams and his racism about like, you just gotta get away from black people. Right. Yeah, great, man. Sure. Here's the problem that Scott Adams is going to run into, besides the fact that he's awful and racist, is that which is, I mean, it's when you, I guess when you know the problem and it's so simple, it should be easy to fix, but not in this case. Um, his problem is that now almost all races hate him. Are we just calling me for like like a cat parade? Is that what we're asking for? If I can, I will scrounge up Murphy for today's broadcast, if that's okay. I will try, because he's around, but he's whiny and annoying, and he's hard to catch if he just doesn't want to. If he doesn't want to come, he won't. But if I can get close enough to him, bring him in, I will. So, all right. Somebody just said I never found Dilbert funny. Now, can I address something? Let me see if I can bring up. Hold on one second, if I may. Close this, and I'm going to open Dilbert cartoons. Here's why images. I'm not going, yeah. I'm just pulling one up at random. So part of the first of all, I would like to thank Drew Carey for stealing the Dilbert cartoon, turning it into a series, and insofar as I know, Scott Adams never getting a dime. That said, um, most of what I see from the Dilbert cartoons over the years, and not being somebody who grew up in a corporate structure, um, although while I will say that working at Disney um, was the closest thing to being a corporate employee as an actor that I've ever had, because we all had sexual harassment training and what was appropriate at work and blah blah blah. We had all that shit, and which I'm for. That's fine. It's a little weird when kids are present. I always thought that was odd. I'm like, hi Disney. Talk when you're working with minors. Don't put them in, even though we're all employees. When you have minors working on a show, do not have them in the room when you are having open, frank discussions about sexual harassment at work. You have that conversation with their parent or guardian, right? We're good on that, right? Everybody understands that, because it's creepy. Thank you. Yes, happy birthday to Lab Rats. 11 years. By the way, my son was born during the pilot. Between the pilot being shot and being like edited and finished. So my son is the exact same age as Lab Rats. And by the time he was in the last two seasons when I was directing, he would come to set and yell action. It was awesome. Because a lot of times I was in the scene, and so when you're in a scene that you're acting as a director, you have someone else call action when everybody's set. You go, as soon as everybody's set, call action, and then you just get into actor mode. And a lot of times it will be anybody from the floor producer or the exec, if they're there, or it doesn't really matter. You can delegate it to whomever. You can pick somebody and that you like the sound of their voice saying action if you want to, but it doesn't matter. And I would have them whisper it to Camden and have him yell it. So a lot of your favorite Lab Rats episodes, my son called action on it when he was 6 years old, 5 years old. Pretty awesome and super adorable in the director's chair. I'm just saying. So there you go. Oh, your cousin's the same age? Well, excellent. Happy birthday to your cousin. I'm a Garfield fan. I am a Garfield fan. I loved Garfield. I collected Garfield books when I was in middle school. Like that, I was, when they would release those, like, well, hold on. These two, for example, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Garfield weighs in and Garfield gains weight. I have more of these, but they're upstairs. And I used to, when I was a little kid, because I didn't have a TV till I was 14. And many of you know that. Till I moved to Chicago, didn't have a television. So listen to albums, old radio, which was on the public radio station late at night, starting about 8 o'clock at night, which is late for a 5, 6 year old. I would listen to Shadow and Nightbeat and Suspense and all those things. And then I would, when I went to my dad's office um, in Frankfurt, I would clip the Garfield strips out of the paper when they were done. So I still have like 5 or 6 more of these that I've had since I was, I don't know, when did this come out? 1980 was the year on this guy. No, if they have a yeah. So this is 82. So I was 12 years old. Um, and yeah, so I was in sixth, seventh grade in that, and so yeah, I I have all of those. I also have a bunch of Bloom counties because when I moved to Chicago, I started collecting Bloom County strips because I'm weird like that. And so I really, as many of you may know, I have the Billy and the Boingers plastic record. Ginger, one of our longtime friends on here, got me a Billy and the Boinger shirt a few years ago that I wear very proudly on stage sometimes if I'm feeling like really like 80s stripped down sleeveless shirt rocker when I'm doing shows. Yeah, that's the one I go to. Bloom County is awesome. Yes, Bill the cat, our dear friend Akf, who's which I just spit all over my table doing, which is appropriate because it's a perfect impersonation. Um, uh, he used to call himself that. If he changed his name, I think, in here because that's hard to say for a lot of people. Opus, Bill the cat, um, Steve Dallas, awesome. So, anyways, I always enjoyed those because they were kind of just generalized world stuff. You could make a joke about just about anything that was going on. Um, I think the same thing with Doonesbury, although a little more political. This was always about corporate America. And the interesting thing about this is, and this is a difficult thing maybe for me to convey. So I hope I do it justice. But the Dilbert cartoons to me have always seemed to be from the point of view of a downtrodden employee who the corporate overlords are constantly telling you to do stupid shit and are ignorant and weak and blah blah blah. And they try to make you do embarrassing and dumb things because it's corporate world. While at the same time, we know that Scott Adams himself, on the one hand, does not work in a corporate structure. He's a cartoonist, works by himself in his house, and basically like borrows other people's problems by reading up on what people are complaining about and then makes a cartoon about it secondhand. Because while he might have been in a corporate structure before that might have inspired Dilbert in the first place, he certainly didn't work there during the length of doing it at all. So he's effectively writing jokes about shit he is not experiencing all the times. And on top of that, from the point of view of an employee that he has utter contempt for now. He might have at one point thought of Dilbert as a conquering hero character in like, oh, the corporate overlords are always trying to put down on him. But now he is fully on the side of the hierarchical control structures, and Dilbert is the problem. And that sort of obvious contempt that Scott Adams has for people like that, while at the same time identifying with these characters, quite frankly, while making them out to be, the villain in his little mini stories, has always seemed to me as contrived. It just seems like you don't even believe your own jokes. And that always bugs me. Well, it's like when it's why, by the way, it's why. Thank you. Look at that, 1,000 people in the chat room already. Good morning. It's Hal Sparks Mornings, Mega Worldwide. I probably should have told you that right out of the gate, but you're here. You're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. Lots going on. But so the Dilbert thing never interested me because it always seemed like he was bullshitting everyone. How did you listen to Monty Python Flying Circus or other comedy radio shows from the 70s? Yes. Sunday nights would be Dr. Demento, and then they would play a couple of BBC radio replays on the public radio station in Kentucky. There were two of them we could get. One was from Louisville and one was from Lexington, and the one from Louisville was really hard. It was like the weather had to be right to get that signal. It was very hashy. And then on the, like, if somebody parked their truck between anywhere between my house and Louisville, Kentucky, between me and the antenna, it would just be a mess. But if they moved it like 3 feet to the right, you could hear it. It'd be great. Lexington was kind of always on. You could hear it. So I would, sometimes you switch back and forth. But the Louisville one was like Lexington was like would play the old radio comedies, and Louisville would play the murder mysteries and that kind of stuff, which really interested me as well, like the scary stories, suspense and Night Beat and all those kind of things. And Jeff Regan, Private Eye, which is Jack Webb at his absolute best as a hard boiled gumshoe. I love Jeff Regan, Private Eye. If you ever get a chance and you got a Sunday night and you're like, I've been staring at too many screens, the solution to your screen problem, ladies and gentlemen, old radio. And it's all over YouTube. Just look up Jeff Regan, Private Eye, and listen to those old shows. Just turn the lights down or off entirely, and just put on some old radio. And the Jeff Regan Private Eye, the Shadow with Orson Welles is the best one. Orson Welles did a few seasons of it, and I could never get I think he did it for 2 years, and then he was too busy. When he was whatever 22 years old and sounded like he was 60. But yeah, the Shadow is like, his version of the Shadow is the one that always gets me. The other ones are fine, but it's, you know, like, I want to like it and I listen, but I'm not as into it. But when Orson, and probably because Orson Welles was more involved in the story, so it was better. He would tweak it to make it a stronger story because that was his real talent. And Halloween, we don't do it every year, but one of my regular rituals is listening to War of the Worlds on Halloween, because it originally, the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, they did a live version of War of the Worlds, and a bunch of people thought it was real, including my great grandfather, who they had a radio in their car at that time, and they were listening to it as they drove. And he pulled the car over because he thought the aliens were coming, got a shotgun out of the trunk, and was going to dust the whole family if the aliens attacked, because he didn't want them all to be taken and turned into something or other. So Orson Welles almost killed me a couple generations ago. But so knowing that, and that being a long-running family story, I especially enjoy it. Yeah. Oh yes, Deborah. And there were people who followed through. Jack Webb rocked that one emotion. No, Marcus. See, that's the thing. He's saying Jack Webb rocked that one emotion. That's because you know the dragnet Jack Webb. Go listen to Jack Regan. Jeff Regan. Jeff Regan, Private Eye. He's way more emotive and interesting. Like, he's definitely dry and harsh and kind of Humphrey Bogart-ish in the language, but there's a lot of layers in it. It's great. Way more so than Dragnet. Dragnet's where he locked in and got the job done. But the Jeff Regan stuff is very lively, very fun. I'm just saying. So, and then I also had albums, like the National Lampoon albums too. I had Shelley Berman's The Sex Life of the Primate and Other Stories. I love that album. Oh my God. In many ways, some of my introduction to political bullshitters. There is a track on that album where, and this is amazing. Anybody ever heard that album? Anybody ever heard Sex Life of the Primate and Other Stories? If you haven't, I highly recommend it if you can find it. I have an old, like, original vinyl of it, and I listen to it with some regularity. There is a scene on it. Oh, Operation Mindcrime is perfect. That's a different story. We'll get into that very soon. So, there's several tracks on there are great, but one of them is, and it's so fucking 70s. It's wonderfully 70s. This one track on there, there's one little vignette, because they're like little sketches. Each track is a sketch, essentially. Is Shelley Berman picks up this girl at a bar, and they're on a date, and it's starting to get hot and heavy, and and he's trying to get laid, and she can't have sex with him because he looks like Adlai Stevenson, and she ties the fact that he looks like Adlai Stevenson to political things that are wrong in the world, and therefore if she has sex with him, she's having sex with those things. And it's just it's like it's like a modern progressives, you know, trying to bump uglies but running up against their own sort of political correctness to the point where it's a total buzzkill. And it is so funny. It's so depressing. And the dude is, and it's so much of the sketch is the guy trying to weasel his way around it and try to polish the turd and get it back to where, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And you can hear him, she comes up every time she comes up with another reason. You can hear the in his voice this kind of like, "Oh, yeah, what that well, that's not, I suppose that's not good either, is it? No, 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 I'm not arguing with you. I just it's yeah, that would be terrible. You're right, that would be terrible." It's just, it's so good. At some point, I don't know even know what the fucking copyright is on those things. I feel like I could play this and just talk while we're doing it, like I do some of my stuff, and let you guys listen to some of these things. I don't know what the deal is. Music's really rough on that, but some of these things don't even, Jesus. What's my favorite episode of the Twilight Zone? That's a rough one, man. That's impossible. The one I suppose one of the several that I voiced for the Twilight Zone radio program. Huh? um, Lurking, excellent. Good to hear it. You're feeding baby girl. Is that a reference to Criminal Minds? I don't know. All right. So, let's see. My baby girl simply would not sleep. I remember sitting in front of the TV and saying, "Here's Johnny." Mel Blanc show. I don't know that I've ever heard that one on its own. So, shall we jump into what's smug bastard? Me? Thank you. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you. Yes, I like to think so. Um, by the way, if you want to support the show, smash that like. Look at that, dink, donk, crack. Don't forget to just give it a thumbs up, you know, or give a thumbs down, please. Just yeah, just any negative emoji, whatever works. I mean, if you like the show, use the good ones. But if you don't like the show, at least show us what you're made of. Come on, huh? Get in here. You guys, yeah, just roll in here and put something down. Give it a thumbs down or whatever. Because I got news for you. The algorithm doesn't care. The algorithm just cares about attention. Hold on one second. I'm gonna for lack of a better use in the world, is this opening at all? What the hell? No, it doesn't even like it. That's so weird. There we go. Now it's happening. And I'll open up this and I'll get our transiges going. Yep. So it's interesting that we had this conversation right out of the gate. Oh, if I may, hold on one second. It should be in here. There we go. Now you can see more of it. It's a little clearer. There you go. Los Angeles trends, but it's all the Galaxy one's the promoted one. It's always at the top. Which if you'll notice, hey, you guys notice this at all? See these three dots right here? Okay, those are the ones where you're like, if you want to get rid of one, let's be honest, they game them so you can't. It's worked a couple of times. It's pretty hit and miss. Let's see, where shall I grab one that's just, here's Fauci, like it'll be the same crap. These two things come up, not interested, or this trend is harmful or spammy. Most of the time when it comes to this and these guys, I'm going with harmful or spammy. It's just an example today, but more than likely when you and I go back to this screen, it will pop back in here somewhere. So Dilbert is trending because he got dropped from all these papers, and there's Brent's amazing. Go watch Brent's clips whenever he does them. He's lovely human being. I should have Brent on as a guest. That's a good idea. Keep thinking about, like, who do I have as guests? God damn it! And am I getting taller? Why, or is my camera shrinking during my time off? What's happening? I think I'm getting taller. I think that's a real problem. I gotta check my pants. What? So the kidney. All right. So, Dilbert has been canceled from all newspapers, websites, calendars, and books because I gave some advice everyone agreed with. No, no, don't agree. Don't agree. No, no, sir. Dilbert and more will be only available at a subscription site when sorted out. Uh, bye. Boo fuckity who. Meanwhile, look who uh came to his rescue over here. The media is racist. You own the media, dummy. For a very long time, U.S. media was racist against non-white people. Now they're racist against whites and Asians. No, they are in an effort, and I would say sometimes misguided effort, to show parity in circumstances, which they always overdo. With in both siderisming racism, they let a lot of stuff slide that is factually racist in an effort to try and like allow there to be a pushback at some point or whatever, and it's just goofy, and there it's a social situation that that newspapers and a lot of regular media are inequipped to handle because it's too personal. Anytime when you have a deadline as far as the amount of time or the amount of space you have to have a conversation in before it has to stop and a toilet paper ad has to start, this is not a this is how things are exist in the world. Got no problem with commercial breaks. But anytime you're in that situation, it makes deep, uncomfortable conversations with any worth nearly impossible. So impossible that what you will often do, and this happens in the news a lot, you will often find that the news takes an hour or 2 hour long gathering, either a piece of a long form podcast or a lecture or a speech that someone gave that was long form, and take out just a slip of it and talk about that slip as indicative, which is one of the reasons why when I pull my clips as best I can, I only use the stuff pulled by the author, by the people who created the works in the first place, and try my best to do the whole thing. And certainly, even if I bail out early, I don't skip past context, pick up where I want, and then get out before any context can be applied. That's kind of important because the depth of the conversation, so that people aren't on their heels if they're using what I've said in an argument. I don't want people going, oh, I didn't hear that part. Like that's I think that's crucial. The situation, and so reading that as they're racist towards white people and Asians when they're dealing with racism towards black people, for example, in dealing with police violence or something like that, and that conversation in that context, you know, it's that is the danger of limiting a conversation with some depth to a 3 to 5 minute segment on the news. Yeah, Fox, and some people do it intentionally. They intentionally tighten that conversation smaller and smaller to create that effect. I would argue that's what TYT does. Unfortunately, I find Democracy Now does that a bunch. They'll go long form with like a part of the conversation, which is odd to me. They'll pick something like like in the defense, like going back and forth between Lula and Bolsonaro and those stories or whatever. They'll talk less about Lula's plans for the country and what it means in relations to the United States, to the CIA in the 1970s allegedly toppling somebody because they sided with rebels that were being wiped out in the hillsides instead of siding with the government that existed at the time that was artificially put in there by a fake election, and the Soviets at the time were lifting up and allowing to have a power structure, and so that's their take on it is the CIA toppled the government of what it said country, that kind of stuff. And they'd rather chase that rabbit than talk about what's happening right in front of them in the present. What does this actually mean for the people of that country currently with this leader, and what's the relation between us, the United States, and that? You know what I mean? Like everybody, it's almost like, okay, so many of you know, if I may, shall we take a little adventure, kids? Many of you know that I've been diving into the AI world lately because I genuinely think you're probably not going to recognize most of your interactive world within a year. I'm just telling you, it's already happening. But a couple months ago, I discovered this little site, and I showed it to some of you guys before. And usually, Friday AI is going to be a regular thing going forward. But this little site, Futurepedia, was when ChatGPT came up, it was one of the ancillary sites that I kind of discovered in as I was going through all this stuff. And while I did, the at the point at like maybe late November, December, there were like six websites on here, six tools you could use. Now there are hundreds. There were six programs that use AI um, less than 2 months ago. Most of these websites, by the way, are either piggybacked on top of OpenAI's structure. They take their AI and then, basically tweak it for a specific task and then create a user interface. I'm just keeping strolling while I'm going through this. And here you go. World, do not pay. This is the AI lawyer. If you have a ticket, you can go to do not pay. That's one of the newer ones. That everybody loves that one. And you go in there and you type in, I was doing this and this and this, and you give them all the details of your accident or whatever your ticket is, and it will write up the legal argument most likely to get you off that you can mail in for a ticket. If you ever have to mail in, like you can show up for court or you can write a written response. This thing writes the written response for you to get out of a ticket. How are we not fucked? Because it will chew itself. It will be too busy chewing itself, and everybody to ever gain ground. The one thing about Skynet that made it really scary is that it was a singular thing. And there's the Chat GPT Chrome extension, which I have and use, by the way, and it's quite weird and very useful. Merlin's another one. A uses Chat GPT as a search engine, so you can have a conversation when you're looking for something instead of it just throwing a lot of links at you. It can tell you a summary of what the answer that it might get from multiple sites, and then you can go, "Can I check your work?" And it will show you the list of sites it went to, which is how it should work. It's basically like a study assistant. It's kind of amazing. It's a great thing. It will revolutionize study practice, learning anything. It's good in that regard. The question is, there'll be a lot of Cyrano de Bergeracing around people faking their intelligence because they'll have an earpiece in and an app listening to everything you're saying and telling them fun things to say back, which already exists as well. So, yeah, look at it. Influencer outreach and link building autopilot. I pity anybody who subscribes to Russell Brand right now because your mailbox and your text chains are going to get blown the fuck up. Anyways, so there's tons of this stuff. Look at this. I'm just, like, this just keeps scrolling, And some of these, I'll go to my favorites real quick. I have to sign in first. Hold on one second. You have to log in with this thing. There we go. If I may. Yeah, here you go. So I made a list of ones that seem useful or just stupid. Notion AI. I use Notion as a note taking thing, and I'm creating currently something that I dreamt up while I was meeting with our mod Mark, bless him. That I'm calling it Operation Pineapple, and what I'm trying to do, and I have to build it, but I can send you guys a list of links, for example, on Russia versus Ukraine that has all the stuff that like details and links on all the stuff that rebut all the idiotic arguments that we hear all the time from these people who are like, why do we care about their blah, blah, Russia and NATO, all that stuff. What I want to do is send a little file, like a bit.ly file that you guys can forward to someone. And when they click on it, it opens their browser and populates it with like 9 tabs that answer that, like read this, dumbass, essentially, that gives, and not just like opinion articles from the Wall Street Journal about stuff, but like the Russia NATO founding agreement or the Wassenaar arrangement, like have here, and then um, a couple of articles from the beginning that, like of the Russia invasion, that if you reread them, there's tons of links, like, and hot links in between in the story itself that lead up to what the justification was for the war at the time versus what we've heard since or in the last 6 months, that kind of shit. So my idea is to send, thanks, POW, POW, nobody now. So my idea was, in these cases, when everybody says China's gonna eat our lunch, I send you a Bitly thing, or you can go to it on a link page that I'll have at housesparks.com, and you guys could just copy and paste that link. It'll just say like send that link. Yeah. And my goal is that it auto opens. It opens their, whatever their browser of choice is, it opens those tabs in their browser automatically, so they don't have to click on individual ones, because they won't. The other thing is if I can't get it to do that, I can create a web page for each of these things, like an HTML page that has all these links, that has a little byline that says, "Hi, you've gotten this link because you're an asshole, and here's all the things that will prove your argument wrong. If you dare, read below." And there they go. See what I'm saying? So if they won't do it, at least I can do like these little uh clip size ones that summarize the story, and then all you have to do is send them one link from my website, and it will do that. That's the thought. That's what I've been working on. So I'm building a project of articles around those kind of things, and then organizing them. And so I use Notion to do that. And it has AI in it now, and you can ask it questions and talk to it almost like a person. But it's kind of like talking to customer service. It will run aground or not exactly give you what you want all the time, but it's helpful where it is helpful. Like, and then there's things like this, like uh, profile AI. If you see my profile picture that's on Twitter now and that kind of stuff, I made that using this. I just put in pictures of my face in different angles, and it makes stuff. And 60% of it looks like shit. Your eyes are cattywampus or the wrong color and all that kind of stuff. But some of them are cool and they work, and that's plenty, right? Okay, so here's the one I wanted to show you though. This one right here in the middle. See that? Now, you have to pay for this one, but if you were to get one built, like you paid for one, technically speaking, you'd never have to build another one, because you could take the code from that, feed it into Chat GPT or any of the other AIs, or GPT-4 when it comes out, or directly relating to any of the AIs if you have that you can have access to, and say, build me another program using this basic functionality that does such and such. You can already do that. But if you build this one, you go, hey, build me an AI that's based on the idea that if I want to make iPhone apps, it pulls in all the APIs, feed it all the APIs from all the developer groups that are out there in case I want to build on somebody else's, or I want to build an extension of some service. Absorb all the developer kits from every app developer out there that has multiple versions of their app, from social media companies or Adobe, as far as image generation or image modification. Absorb all their developer kits, just swallow them up. And then I want to build stuff based on all those developer kits, and constantly refer back in case there's an upside. So, okay. So this thing right here, that right there, that's a pay thing right now. And somebody's going to make a free version. OpenAI kind of is if you want to dick around, but there it is. I'm sorry it's not Friday. You're right. But there is a point where everything that populates in here, probably in the next month or so, is going to start being about 80% computer generated. Like, it is going to be like everything is going, it's not going to be because people are interested in these things, but it's because of bot gaming and all kinds of stuff What is the source? Which one? Oh, what I was looking at just then? Or what do you mean? Cosmic seek and what is the source? I mean, it's a deep, very, very deep question. So, the the source of where that software is, they're just building it on top of the chat or the GPT-3. So, Chat GPT is this little talking algorithmy thing that you could see. And if anybody, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but hold on one second. So, Chat GPT. Let me go into here. I'll open it up. And then you go into here. Excellent. Now, I'm going to, let's see, clear my conversations, confirm that, get out of here. Okay, so here you go. This is, when you go, I have modified Chat GPT to use the internet. So I use an extension that allows me to, because ChatGPT is not connected to the internet, and cannot draw anything current in theory, cannot draw anything current from the internet. It stopped at 2021, so it doesn't know anything that's happened since, unless it has access to the internet. So in this particular case, let's go ahead. Let's go. If we um, let's see, write a blog about how Jeff Regan Private Eye is the greatest beg your pardon, classic radio show ever. Return. Okay, so this goes through and it finds links, and then here you go. And it will source it. There you go. Jeff Regan investigator. It's yeah. There you go. Jeff Regan Investigator is widely regarded as one of the greatest classic radio shows ever produced. 1, 2, 3. And by the way, the site sources. The series premiered on July 10th, 1948 over the CBS network and starred Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, a rough and tumble private eye working for an international detective bureau out of the Cosmopolitan building in Los Angeles. What makes Jeff Regan Investigator so great is its engaging storytelling, well-crafted scripts, and excellent performances by the cast, especially Jack Webb in the title role. Webb was coming off his work in other radio detective shows like Pat Novak for Hire and Johnny Madero, Pier 23, before taking the role of Jeff Regan. The show's premise centers around Jeff Regan, who takes on a variety of cases in the International Detective Bureau, run by cantankerous and penny-pinching Anthony J. Lyon, voiced by, voiced by Wilms Herbert. Regan, I mean, come on. Yeah. Overall, Jeff Regan Investigator is a classic radio show that offers listeners a fantastic combination of gripping crime stories and memorable characters and excellent performances. It is a must listen for anyone interested in the history of a radio drama. Okay, now write this so that a third grader can understand it. Hey there, third grader. Here's some things you might want to know about being in third grade. First of all, your brain is growing and developing a lot. You're becoming more logical and you can understand the craziest ideas. You're getting really good at math. You're learning big numbers with 3 digits. It's exciting. I'm glad it's giving. Nothing cool about the third grade. You get to learn about different cultures. You learn how people in America from many different ethnic backgrounds and have different traditions. You get to learn about things like foods, languages. It is literally going through the like third grade curriculum. Explain. So it'll get like, again, that's as good as it gets. Explain Jeff Regan private. Whoops, I could type private eye radio show to a third grader. Is really what I wanted. So you can stop it producing stuff. There it goes. Hey there, third grader. You ever heard of a private eye? It's kind of a detective who solves mysteries for people. Well, Jeff Regan is a private eye from a really cool radio show called Jeff Regan Investigator. The show aired a long time ago, from 1948 to 1950, on a radio station called CBS. It was one of seriously. In the show, Jeff Regan would take all kinds of cases to solve. Sometimes he had to find missing things for people or figure out who did a bad thing like stealing. So I'm yes, approaching Trump territory. Exactly. Well, that's um this is, and again, you can have going any number of conversations and it will grow on this conversation. So it will learn that this conversation has a particular thread, almost like you're texting with an individual. Um, and it will thinking, it'll start building a version of itself if I continue talking to this like this, like this entire being, this android human thinks its entire job is to explain old radio to third graders. That's all it does all day friggin' long. And by the way, most of the blogs you're reading right now are going to be generated or at least seeded by these things. Now, here's the cool part. Even if you don't like what it wrote, it goes and finds you some primary web results that uh, it picks three. I chose how many things. You can get 3 results or an unlimited amount of results. And you can ask it, when to look for stuff, so that if you're looking for things that just happened recently, which is really tough when I'm searching for things and I'm trying to find a particular when you're looking at something like February 25th, 2022, about the beginning of the Russia Ukraine war, for example, and your Google, as dumb as it is, just thinks, "Oh, you must mean this 2022. You must have mistyped the 22 part and you want 23." It will just start feeding you the news that has the highest SEO currently. And what you want is stuff that was posted a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago or from the Wayback Machine. And you can set it to do that now, which is, again, from a research standpoint, is fucking amazing. Um, what's a radio? Right. Well, it's going to be an ongoing problem. So I have to say, ask it when Trump will be put in jail. Like, there's a lot about this that is fantastic. If you're, I'm looking forward to this kind of thing. I am certainly looking forward to a brainiac assistant that can keep me on track and that I talk back and forth to verbally in the situation, that doesn't have to wait for a verbal cue because I've given it such a unique name or something. Wait till we all start talking in like click language. Um, yeah. So what you're doing is building the heuristics in your own AI digital assistant. Exactly, Doc Spano. That's exactly right. Within ChatGPT, you can do these like little mini substrates of your own, AI cul-de-sac. Yeah. So you built this from a Futurepedia offering? Yes, my whole show. Is this real or Hal or AI? Hal needs Hal. It's true. Um, I Interestingly enough, I'm going to save a story. I got a big story for Friday, and I'm going to see if I can put something together as a demo for Friday. Yeah, we'll get there. I do want my own Jarvis. Absolutely. I think I'd prefer a Friday if I was saying. But yeah, Hal said cul-de-sac. I did. To cul-de-sac. The French don't even have a word for cul-de-sac, or entrepreneur. Sad. Um, Does GPT have the instructions for a Star Trek medical flashlight? No, Amy, but we'll get there. That's the thing. Because, there's 2 things I would do if I was just to log off, not do my show or anything else anymore, and just start working on AI. There are 2 things I would do. One is incorporate all NASA data in terms of physics and what we know about gravity, all available science, and set it about figuring out how to defy gravity. That would be it. To solve the gravity problem, either by creating sort of a counter-magnetic force that pushes back against gravity. Solve that, and so we no longer need friction as part of our transport or getting off the planet, and then off you go. Once you solve that problem, if it's solvable at all, but if it's not solvable, then in the process you go, give me the next best thing. What's the most efficient way of beating gravity? And then you work on the friction quality of tires, and the an alternative to asphalt that for roads that doesn't require petroleum products all that kind of stuff. Yes, solving climate change, maximizing return on the material density um, for wind turbines, 10xing the efficiency of solar panels, um, creating kit systems for geothermal in areas where that's possible, just day and night. Just have it constantly making up systems to do that. There's no such thing. It's buoyancy. Well, that's the thing. It's definitely not magnetism. But what I'm saying is if it's to be found out and can be found out, that would be it. So that's where it comes up with the only answer is to flood the earth. And then we find out that the great worldwide flood was actually caused by an AI from Atlantis a long time ago, that God didn't flood the world. But somebody asked, like, uh, how do I float above the ground without needing rockets or whatever? And it went, well, you could be underwater. and then um and then it flooded the world just to make it happen, which would be hilarious. And then we restarted the world and we live in a simulation, which is entirely possible, and another conversation for another time. Um, so what I'm saying is that there are leaps forward that have happened in our world, even from just like literally the leap forward with like the Bronze Age, and then agriculture, and then the industrial age and the information age. um, how the world changed in such a short period of time, and that there was a quickening in that it hummed along for hundreds of thousands of years, at least a couple 100,000 years of humans and Neanderthals wandering around. And then you reach this one point where forming things out of metal just jumps societies way ahead. I mean, you could argue that there was a similar thing with the Spanish introducing horses to North America and Central America, and that change alone made some native tribes take over huge swaths of the Americas. That the Comanche, in many ways, and the Apache gained a lot of militaristic control over areas because they adopted the horse faster than the more agrarian tribes. um, can Chat GPT lie? Yes, it can if you tell you. It can also be wrong. It can also just bullshit. That's the thing. And so you always have to check it. Which is, it's like an assistant that has no skin in the game. So if you had an assistant that like a free intern that just needs to spout things to justify its existence, whether they're true or not. Yeah, the Lakota, right? Again, like if you're ever looking to view Native Americans as peaceful antelope people who never lifted a hand in anger until the white man came along, um then you are dehumanizing them, because they had all the same problems that Europe had for centuries, and violence and enslavement and encroaching on others' territories and peace treaties and all kinds of shit. Please, humans are humans. Period. End of story. You go back far enough in anybody's family, their great grandparent bashed in somebody else's head so they could get meat and survive so that you could end up being alive. Yeah. Um, yeah. But the point is, in this particular situation, no one says what? The stuff about native tribes that they're, yes, they do. They absolutely do. If you ask most, like, if you ask most Northeastern, um, I would say, like, martini liberals, um, they would tell you that native tribes were vegetarian and that they only wore buffalo skins because somebody else had killed them and they found them laying on the ground. It's silly. Horses originated in the Americas. No, they did not. People who know natives do. There you go. Yes, that's yes, idiots. I'm talking about idiots. Of course I am. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking to and with you guys. Very important distinction. Um, so yes, well, yeah, well, if the truth is inconvenient, then your argument is meaningless. I would argue. You know, you need to build a bit that can determine bullshit. Well, there is one. That's the thing. Everybody. That's and it's so part of this. It's so part of this. Um, but there are on this site. There are a bunch. Well, I'll go back to the. I don't have it in my favorites because I don't use any of the writers like the ad creative, the things like these kind of things that write. Um, copy for you and shit like that that will, write up a I don't know, a blog or an essay or a school paper, that kind of stuff. So there are some that will um check to see if it was written by a computer. And now there's software, there's an AI that will take what your other AI wrote and reword it so it will beat that algorithm. It's hilarious. Yeah. And yeah, Wolfram Alpha, we looked at some of this anyways. There's Midjourney. That's the one that makes pictures. Everybody's on that one all the time right now. If you're a part of the Patreon, I have put in the chamber in on our Discord um, the ability to use a couple of different um, visual servers. I have the Midjourney bot in there, but also Blue Willow. So there's access, which is another image generator in Discord. But anyways, before we get too far off track, just there's a lot. So everything your poop is controlled by AI. I don't doubt it for a second. Um, um, never going to take on a choir again. You fall in love with them and then they all die. Dear God, Wes, what? So archaeologists say horse domestication may have begun in Kazakhstan about 5,500 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not the Americas. AI can do background checks for politicians like Santos? Yes, they can. They can also write up justifications for his lies for him. Write me an answer where I can respond that will make that 80% of the people that hear it will believe that I have total justification for lying the way I did and will be on my side. And it'll give you a like that. It may not work. But it will use whatever psychological information, blah blah blah. Yeah, check Megaworldwide Discord. Okay, I will. Okay. Let's see. Down at the bottom, something. Hold on, I'm scanning. Oh, Kimberly Johnson would like to be on the show next Monday. That's awesome. Okay, fantastic. Next Monday we have a guest, Kimberly Johnson. I love that idea. I'm excited about it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it to be this Monday. But anyways, yeah, that's a great idea. Excellent. So I'll schedule that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Um, also, if you guys see anybody, in the same way that we've helped Philip Ittner get on some shows, if there's some folks, that we like that we can bug into being on the show, big heavy hitters. I mean, out of reach people is what we're shooting for. Because the ones at this strata, I'm fairly certain I can get. I'm just not going to ask until I get to about 100K. No pressure on YouTube. I'm not going to start asking people at a certain strata to be guests on the show because I feel like they might put a pin in it because I don't have enough subscribers on YouTube, and then it'll take them a while to come back around even when I do. She's Bob Seska's girlfriend. Yes, I know, but she's so much more. She's so much more. And David Pakman has his own show. So it's interesting. Hosts of other shows are probably good. It's not a bad idea. But yeah, we're at 48K. We're getting there, but we got to clear that 50 mark and then get to 100,000. So subscribe. Invite the beautiful Matthew Cook. I'll see what I can do. Have you heard from Stuttering John? I have not. Trey, that's a good idea. Trey's been on, has done stand up. Oh, and I have a list of new stand up shows. So I will be posting those into the calendar and all that kind of stuff. Yes, definitely Malcolm Nance. I sent him a message, but there you go. And Ojeda, like, he definitely knows he's welcome anytime. So, yeah, Lindell, yeah. Lindell is still dodging me. He's still dodging me. I'm just saying. Um, MTG. Oh yeah, I mean, I would definitely talk to any of those folks because she's an elected representative. It wouldn't be a fun conversation for them, and I'd certainly do the same thing with any of the. I would gladly talk to any of the tankies because and again, they're not going to like it. Whatever happened to Mike Pillow? Still blowing me off. I've sent 4 emails. I mean, oh yeah, Titus. That's a good idea. I'll bug him again because he's been off Twitter for a bit. So I'll see if I can get him maybe this Friday. That'd be good. Guten Morgen. Good stuff. Bo with the 5th column. He's a good guy. I mean, some of those. It's cool. I'm not against it, but I'm talking Steven Crowder. Sure. I'm talking about people who either don't already have their own show or their own outlet as far as guests. No, I'm talking about like Fiona Hill or that kind of those kind of folks. Like I want to chew Mearsheimer's fucking ear, that dude. So let's jump in here real quick. We go back to the regular trends. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so Scott Adams is going to be the top of this a bunch. Cinema's in here because I think the list of the deeds or whatever, blah blah. Yeah, this business. So this woman shows up at a meeting and says that the Sinaloa cartel has been bribing the Arizona legislature, elected appointed officials with falsified deeds, and then it's just this. And I gotta say, people are holding this up like it's evidence. And by the way, let me from the jump, let me be abundantly clear that if any politician is taking money or support from a drug cartel, fuck them, goodbye. I don't care if they pretend to like the issues that I support. I don't care if they're a maggot and I think they should have already been drummed for office. There is no place for it. End of story, period. That said, you're gonna need more than a typed up hit list that this woman put together of basically just anybody who has a deed or a former deed or something on paper that she can or can't explain the origination of the said document. This woman, whoever who spoke at this meeting, presented this. This is little. Oh, here you go. Hold on. It's got an asterisk up the top. All right, okay, with falsified deeds, the asterisk has to prove to us that there's that obviously. Oh, let me shrink this down so you guys can see at the bottom. Maybe I have to bring it up to here. Yeah, let me try to scroll this up to here. There you go. This list comprises individuals where investigation has been completed. Additional officials, including judges and election officials for Maricopa County and spouses, are currently implicated by the evidence obtained to date. Now, again, what evidence? Okay, so let me see if I can find Sinister Security Tulsi Gabbard's sister, blah blah. Okay, that's not related. Some people link to this the article that this woman put out. Yeah, there's a lot of these like, whoa, oh no, like you're an asshole. I could type up a list of, like, I could make up an Epstein flight list like this in about 4 seconds and put it out as an image online and bury it in other websites or in Reddit threads under anonymous whatevers, and it will show up in 10 different places. And like, I've seen that list too. And then they just grab the list and start posting it. And oh my God, do you realize that Ben Franklin flew to Epstein's Island? Like that kind of shit. It's not hard. And so the fact that this is just this woman's typed up thing, this is not evidence. If there is evidence, have at it. And if there is evidence to be found, fuck those people. But this ain't evidence. This is this woman's list. Okay, then my favorite part of this is, let me see if we can find oh, this is just her thing in here or whatever. Because I posted this before. Look, by the way, great day in America. Scott Adams, cinema, MS-13, and AIDS. And Zimmerman. This is yeah. So what are we just going back over? Like, what's shit? What's just absolute shit? We should just go. Maybe things are too good today comparatively, so we just go through things that are just shit. Oh yeah, Cinema is in the news because she's paying Tulsi Gabbard's sister $300K for security. Yeah, not surprising at all. Again, just because Tulsi Gabbard is Tulsi Gabbard does not mean her sister is good, bad, or indifferent, or presented herself as someone who's like, look, I'm just here to protect you, and you obviously you've got to whatever. Like, again, that's not an automatic thing. I don't blame children for the sins of their fathers. I don't blame adult parents of adult children for what their adult children do. I don't blame brothers for what their sisters do, or vice versa. Like, it work that way. Show me the problem with her individually, then we'll get onto it. But honestly, that's not something that's going to trigger me to jump where I aha, like it's not an aha. It's not worth an aha. I'm sorry. I love you guys, but no. What was the 80s like? Fucking awesome. All right. Anyways, Scott Adams, MS-13, because I guess is Trump doing more. You're meeting with foreign minister of a gender party, particularly October's play with solidarity with Iran's. I don't know why that's a thing. This is how you handle criminal gangs like MS-13. Much better than having them up at our southern border. El Salvador's government moved thousands of suspected gang members to a newly opened mega prison, latest step in a controversial crackdown on crime that has caused the Central American nation's prison population to soar. And I love, she's like, this is how you handle criminal gangs like MS-13. Hey, you know how they built this? You know how El Salvador built this? Do you know where the funds for El Salvador's big mega prison came from? U.S. foreign aid. You know, that money that Trump was cutting? Yeah. That's that money is made to keep these guys in jail. Yeah. So, and if you want to cut the support, I mean, that guy, that's a situation where that guy has earned all those head tattoos. I don't remember inviting Hal to be triggered about anything. All I pointed out was why cinema was in the news. No, that's fine, Leather Goddess. It didn't trigger me. I'm just making the case because there were other people just saying stuff in there about Gabbard. It's fine. I'm just saying, because that's it isn't even you guys. The meaning of that story, if you look at how people are reacting online to this, like her having this story right here, I am not going to immediately panic because it's Tulsi Gabbard's sister. Tulsi Gabbard's sister might hate Tulsi Gabbard for all we know, or might go, look, I'd rather not, but do this, or it might be completely hinky. That's fine, like it's a little silly. If she's funneling money to her from a campaign, that'll be a great story later. But there has to be a level of comfort before they fall into that. And I would rather them, get comfy, pull the fucking blankets up around their neck and go, we're fine. Why are they in white shorts? Because I don't know. You'd have to ask the government down there. So this is why she's putting like this up. But you'd have to ask El Salvador. But more than likely, they started with uniforms and then they bear them down into just underwear because of what you can sneak in and around the jail. It's the result of long form issues. Uh, let's see. Following HSI investigation, Homeland Security investigators joined the Justice Department and the FBI in announcing the arrest and indictment of 3 MS-13s of violent transnational gang highest-ranking leaders. Right? Yeah. So, um, and to the person saying it's pretty dehumanizing, I would argue uh, that there is an action at a certain point that you take as an individual where you dehumanize yourself, where you have turned yourself into a, like such a murderous, violent human being that you are requesting the world treat you like a monster to some degree. That's a conversation for another time. And obviously, it would not explain the story of every single individual in this situation. And that's why you need a functioning justice department. Um, but that's what everybody's jumping on. Um, Yeah, and by the way, and up here in the United States, the MS-13 guys will have like skull tattoos under their hair, or they'll have tattoos that come up to here, but they need to operate and function in the United States. Whereas down there, it doesn't, to some degree. In certain areas, it doesn't matter. You can cover yourself in tattoos like that, and you just, it's like wearing a mask, of a particular gang you're in, that you're never going to adapt back to society again because you choose not to. You have made the decision to, and again, this goes to the difference between situations where a person is mentally ill and does something violent because of abuse or neglect or whatever when they were a child in a normal society where everything's functional, versus people who choose a path that feeds all their main needs, that involves harming other people. There's a lot of them they hope keep them locked up. Yes, there's a lot of those folks. One can sneak a heck of a lot into a jail. It would surprise you. Exactly. Which is why they're just in shorts. Because at some point, like I said, everybody had a shirt and then they used the fold of the shirt to carry something or whatever. And they're like, all right, shirt's off. And then they, borderline, that's how this stuff happens. It always starts at everybody copying prison uniforms to a certain degree of another country or another society or the previous administration or whoever was running things, and then they go, all right, that didn't work, all right, that didn't work, all right, that didn't work, all right, that didn't work. So there you go. So MS-13 and AIDS, it's a fun, it's Monday. Good morning. Oh, this is right. They had a person who was uh completely cured of AIDS using stem cells, I believe, recently. The published paper by There Goes Leaders in AIDS Research, Human Retroviruses, sister paper. Yeah, there we go. I think this is the Lucifer. You can't make this up. U.S. military now being tested for AIDS. They put 3 HIV proteins in the shot in the world vaccine induced AIDS. The DoD database reported a 500% increase in HIV in 2021. Anybody want to guess what the individual numbers were like? And then you get when it gets that small, it's again 1 person to 6 people, 500% increase. U.S. has funded bioweapons lab in Ukraine, which were conducting AIDS research on Ukrainian military personnel. This is perhaps the craziest thing I've heard this week. No, it's not. I'm not surprised you'd hear it. It's that you think it was either on purpose or was intended to create super AIDS. Right. An article where it sounds like it real right. Okay, yeah. So this is look. Here's the same shit they did with AIDS. They're doing with COVID. And why did they do that with COVID? Because they got away with it. Jimmy Dore. Yes, remember what they did with AIDS? Spend a lot of time trying to find a cure while by the way, while using as a treatment AZT, which was a drug that had been sitting around for a long time that they thought would actually help. To end AIDS, we need to end punitive laws perpetuating the pandemic, criminalizing approaches to law or catastrophic AIDS response. End AIDS with the punitive laws. Oh, I think what they mean is anti-gay laws where people can't be open, and that can, I would agree. Um, and then people remembering people who they lost. Ukraine was using biolabs to conduct AIDS research on Ukrainian soldiers. Okay. Uh, we'll see if we can grab that for this afternoon, maybe. I don't know if he'll have a smaller contextualized part of it, but I'm going to call bullshit straight up on this in general, but also when in the weeks leading up to the fucking war, or when Yanukovych was in charge and the Russians were like, we got to find a cure for AIDS before it busts its way through our country. So how about we just use Ukrainians to do it? AZT started killing people faster. Yes, Jillian, that is an argument many have made, and I wouldn't disagree. But again, not because they were trying to murder people with it, but because half science and them doing their best attempt. Oh, and I love the fact that, see this guy up here, right here? This is one of Zelensky's body men. He's with him all the time. He's one of his like most trusted kind of like Secret Service guys. He's always around. Um, Anytime you see Zelensky walking around, this dude's nearby with a bunch of other guys. But the reason he stands out and people notice is that they dress similarly as versus some of the other guys. Like he's always, it's like he almost matches his outfit or something. Except he's got, and I think he's like he's got this like fanny pack that he always wears. Stu Peters thinks that there was a glitch in the Matrix because what's he doing down here and at the top of the stairs? And they're obviously two fucking different guys. And I can only imagine what happens when Stu Peters goes to a fucking like hipster bar where everybody looks like, whoa, there's like, it's like a glitch in the Matrix. There's neck beards everywhere. So stupid. It's Gunny Highway. Mm. Two fully vaccinated died unexpectedly in their sleep in the last year. Now another dead friend, fully vaccinated, has developed a rare form of cancer. The other vax friend's family seem to stay sick constantly. Girlfriend's best friend just told me she has V AIDS. Like that, by the way, that's vaccine AIDS, is what that, when they do that. Just in case you're wondering. If you see that, that's what that means. Fauci gets nuked by Jimmy Dore. He so does. Why is he in a train station in front of the lockers or something? Or maybe he's just hanging out in a high school. They only keep drugs that only people would, because they only wanted to push drugs that were approved by big pharma. Yes. You do realize big pharma makes ivermectin and all those drugs, right? You do realize that if it cured it, they could sell it and go, "Hey, we came up with the cure a long time ago. We could fight this in a second. We don't even need a new drug. You can trust us and buy our shit in the future." There used to be a running storyline, kids. And by the way, hi, welcome to Houndsparks Mega Worldwide. If you're just joining us, like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. That there was I'll go back to trends over here. Blink. There used to be a generalized thought, and I would have to say that I participated in this thought for a long time because logically it seemed to work to a certain point. We may have moved past that, as we do not have a centralized pharmaceutical industry in this country or in the world. There are 9 or 10 major pharmaceutical companies competing all the time with each other. We do not have a monopoly in any stretch in terms of quote unquote big pharma. And as a matter of fact, the fact that Jimmy Dore was part of TYT says everything you need to know about TYT's morals. Yeah, that and the Gavin Long story. Good times. Go look that up. But at a certain point, and this is why you hear things like big pharma, big tech, people want to use your natural aversion to monopolies to attack a relatively diverse span of companies in an industry that are, by the way, competing against each other. Facebook is competing with Twitter. Twitter is competing with Snapchat and TikTok, and LinkedIn's trying to get all the working adults to spend all their time over there. And Instagram was bought by Facebook and is owned by it, but is run through effectively a firewall that is often at odds with the Meta folks upstairs. So and there's Spoutable and all these other sites. There's fucking 9 right winger sites. There's Reddit. There's YouTube. There's Twitch. There's all these places you can gather social media wise that are always competing for your eyeballs nonstop all the time. But calling it big tech is a way of bringing you basically serving a message of theirs in a way that fits something that you have a natural aversion to, which would be monopolized systems in general. And that is understand this. Anybody who says big pharma, big tech, big media, or even the attempt at mainstream media, those kind of phrases are propaganda phrases. And they start out as jargon. They start, and again, jargon is a way that people inside a small community talk to each other, but not outside. Jargon is um, it's like uh, it's almost like a secret password. If you use the right jargon, you're allowed into our conversation. If you don't say the right jargon, I know you're not part of the crowd. So I have one goal, which is to make you use my jargon so that you and I are operating on the same short form conversation. Happens all the time. Gavin Long. Gavin Long. He killed 4 police officers, and he was one of those TYT uh, indie reporters that used to quote Jimmy all the time. Made his own videos, and then TYT copyright striked them so that they would so that people wouldn't notice after it happened. Yeah. So jargon itself, I find awful. I find it pretty useless in the long term. In the short term, something will pop up, so we're all talking about the same thing. But as soon as it reaches a certain point, like woke, when you hear woke, when you hear like the right wing using woke, they're using they're taking someone else's jargon and inverting that jargon to, yes, big jargon, there to control the conversation without actually saying anything, because the conversation ends when we're talking about big tech, big media, big whatever the fuck, the deep state. It's like Illuminati. So at a certain point, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're either part of it or you'd be dead. If it really existed, in the case of Alex Jones, something like that. So it's shibboleth. Yes, agreed. So you need to recognize that when someone takes a lot of diverse groups, especially competing groups, in the case of the pharmaceutical industry, in the case of world governments, when somebody says big government, what they mean is the federal government, and they want to divide the country up into state governments, and even those they want to make as useless as possible unless they have an emergency on their property, and then everybody has to run to help them. That's why libertarianism doesn't exist. It's hilarious. But anytime somebody starts saying to you big pharma, big tech, big media, any of that shit, what they're trying to do is create the illusion of a monopoly in your head. That's the goal. That is an attempt to manipulate you, or to check and see if you're already manipulated, if you're already supposedly on the team. Big Brother's another example. That's where they got it from, Bill. Big Brother is another, like from another mother. Yes, it's your big brother from another big mother. Your big mama. Yes, they took Big Brother from 1984 and then just took the word big and attached it, because apparently Big Brother has a lot of siblings that, by the way, don't like each other. And some of them need each other, but some of them don't, and blah, blah, blah. But the goal is to make you think that all these different groups, that have competing interests, by the way. Moderna and Pfizer are always trying to knock each other out of the top spot. And AstraZeneca and all these other companies, there's dozens of them all over the world that are on their own subsidiaries, national systems, the CDCs and the NIHs of most Western countries. That in a bunch of countries like in the Netherlands and the UK and stuff, they are standalone pharmaceutical industries in and amongst themselves. Even if they don't do the production themselves, they develop this kind of stuff. So there's a myriad of these groups, and they're always fighting. It's like saying big NFL to make in an argument where you're trying to say the Chargers are just like the Steelers, are just like the Cowboys, are just like, because they all wear helmets and they all wear pads. So they're all trying to get the ball in the same goal. Imagine if you watched football or baseball or any sport and believed that they were all trying to score, both teams fighting each other were trying to score for the same team. It's goofy. Shut your mouth. Yeah. It's that's that. I want you to consider that the next time you hear big media, big tech, big whatever from these assholes, because it's an attempt to manipulate you. I'm just saying. And yes, to instill cynicism is another reason for it, to make you give up on trying it, because you can't go after what Exxon does versus while if BP is doing something terrible and Exxon's actually cleaning up their act, and my goal is to make you hate any fossil fuels and make them shut it off immediately, all of it instantly, no matter what the cost to anybody on the earth. I can't allow you to make distinctions between people who are doing slightly better or even drastically better than somebody else. Right? They all have to be in one lump. If I'm trying to destroy, if I view that existence as as against me or as my main opponent, the industry itself, I can't make a distinction between anybody who is doing better or is more ethical or less ethical. I can't have you making lesser of 15 evils. I have to take the entire system that I am against and try to squish it into a big evil because of whatever goal I have in this particular situation. And you see, I mean, we see it all the time. Like, I've obviously been germinating on this thought for quite some time because it's a regular, like deep state has become fucking, it's deep state is now the woke statement of the left. Like, everybody, like, that's just goofy. The way the right mocks woke, we mock deep state a lot because it's just fucking functioning bureaucracy. You don't have to fucking everybody get up from their chair and move one chair over. Why? There's a new boss. What the fuck for? I was in the middle of something. It doesn't matter. So yes, it's an attempt to oversimplify and villainize. It's an attempt to mass villainize entire swaths so that you get, and not even so that you do anything, so that you get into distrust mode and you don't, all this is evil. Follow me. Follow what I'm saying. I will tell you, keep your eye on me. Like, don't, everybody over here is bad. It's reminiscent of violent and abusive relationships. It is the same, just gross. So anyways, tired of it, annoyed, jargon is garbage. I have told you guys the story of my friend recently. It came up, and this is probably why I've been thinking about it. He did est. Make this argument as a Bobcat rant. It's not a bad idea, but it's a long one, so most people can't take it. It would be an hour of Bobcat, which is not a bad thing. But anyway, my friend went to this, one of these big weekend long seminars, and he came back on Monday and from it. He'd been there for 3 days, and he said it changed my life. I said, "How was it?" He said, "It changed my life." And I said, "How do you know? You'll only know in a couple of years, right? After your life has changed and you've kept these changes and it's modified who you are and you're better now, then you can look back and, wow, 2 years ago when I did this, it obviously altered who I was, right? That makes sense." And the one issue that I had all the time was that he spoke in almost nonstop jargon in I knew this guy from Chicago, and then I'd moved out to LA, and we ran into each other again, and I would see him at Marianne Williamson's lectures that I ended up, running the sound for her and all that kind of stuff. And I knew a lot of people like this, people who would talk almost entirely in new age jargon. I'm trying to hold the light for them inside them in a way, but it's very difficult. It's very challenging for me because of my wounds to see that. And I remember trying to be as open as I possibly could and as loving and supportive as I possibly could, but honestly going, what the fuck are you talking about? What'd they do? What'd you do? What are you doing right now? I don't care what. I don't know what wounds you. You're asking me to buy wholesale that somehow your wounds from when you were a kid have any bearing on this at all. I'm starting to think you just want to fuck this dude because he's cute and he treats you like shit, and you can't weigh that against how much you want to fuck him. That's it. That was the whole. Like I had several conversations like that. You didn't know about Marianne Williamson? Oh yeah. Um, when her daughter writes a book, I'll be a couple of chapters when she was a little girl. One of these days I'll dig up one of the pictures of me and Emma, her daughter, together. Her daughter's lovely, and I think one of two straight dudes around when and acting is kind of like the only like just in case you don't see a straight dude, this is what we're like. Hi, in that world, it's very funny. Um, but the point is that some folks were just like overwhelmed with fucking jargon to the point where they're not communicating anything. They're just saying buzzwords, and I, it's like this. It's how I think everybody sees in the future when aliens go neep nerp neep nerp neep nerp neep nerp, and you're like aliens speak this kind of beepy like language. And I always used to joke is like that's what happens when you keep saying jargon to the point where you only need like six beeps, and that's all we ever talk about. Neep nerp neep nerp neep nerp neep, and that's like all right, that's the whole conversation. Nobody's getting. There's no depth to be had. No depth is allowed, right? So yeah, buzzwords like jargon. You might as well be talking in bumper stickers. It's aggravating. Yes, it's gatekeeping is another version of that where if you don't use the proper jargon, you clearly are evil or against me or something. It's silly. So and it's childish and it's gross and I don't put up with it and neither should you. And it like anybody who's like, you're not saying this properly, like, well, you need to work on your communication with other human beings because not everybody's going to, and you're either a loving, inclusive person or you're not. Um, sorry. Um, Diversity is our strength. That's why everyone must say the exact same words. And if you describe anything differently, you are excommunicado. Okay. So this is like it's just been this I've had this thing against jargon my whole life. And my friend used to talk in jargon constantly. And at one point, I'm driving him and this girl, this friend of ours, to the airport. She needed a lift to the airport, and his car sucked. So they, she asked if I could drive her to the airport, and he was spend the night at her house. Uh, he was her best gay friend, and so they were, thick as thieves all the time. So I'm driving them to the airport, and they're both sitting in the back. By the way, I mean, these are my friends, and one of them doesn't sit in the front seat. So I'm just a chauffeur, right? This is pre-Uber, so I'm driving my friends, quote unquote, my friends, to the airport, and she starts talking about this guy who was uh she was dating who had struck her. He had slapped her face. Um, and she was talking with my friend in this kind of new age jargon about I'm trying to see the light in him, but it's very difficult to see past the part of it. But I find that this is a wound of mine that blah blah blah. And I was like, and again, I was like, fuck that. The minute he reaches that point, get out because you gotta go. Because if you stick around when he slaps someone or harm someone, you're only going to be able to do this up to the point a certain point, which is where the abuse gets so bad where you have no choice but to flee and hide, or he'll kill you. And if you stay that long, you're training this guy, as probably people have before, that it's okay that if I keep hitting her, she'll stay. And if I stop, they leave. Because the minute I give them a break and stop hitting them, they all realize I'm useless and I'm gross and I'm not worth being around, and they head for the door. So the only thing I can do is keep harming who I'm with. It's gross. Get the fuck out. You want to see the light at him? If he's got light in him, you can see it from a fucking distance. As everyone has a star within them, then you can see it from outer space. So who gives a shit? Get out. And she said, I didn't ask you for your opinion. I was talking to my friend. And I said, you asked me for a ride to the airport, and you are sitting in my car having this conversation. There is no better example of asking my opinion than asking for a ride and spouting this shit, knowing who I am within a couple of feet of me. If you don't want my opinion, take a cab. But in the great spiritual realm of things and the interconnectedness of all life on planet and the golden thread that connects us all together, you chose to shorten the thread between my heart and your heart so that I would tell you to dump this fucker before he kills you, or you train him that it's okay to kill somebody else. And that, in many ways, was the problem in both of them trying to solve a complex problem with inputs of jargon that were incapable of handling, at least as they understood this jargon. And again, as I understood the jargon, it works. Just what I said. If we've all got a golden thread attaching all of our hearts as human beings together, one of the things that might happen in the great scheme of things is that I might find myself heart to heart with you with our golden threads this far apart, and you might be in the process of being evil and doing something to a small child or someone who is a victim of yours, and me knocking you the fuck out is why our threads were shortened to that point. Does that make sense? Because the world that infinite universe made includes everything from viruses to volcanoes and earthquakes and all that stuff. And sometimes an earthquake, apparently, it thinks is a solution to something. So maybe I'm just there to be your earthquake that day. That works for me. And as long as I'm a complete human being and can, I'm not reacting based on preconceived notions or jargon. I can read the situation to do what's right in that situation, even if it includes knocking you the fuck out. Which, if had I been standing there when this dude slapped her, that's exactly what would have happened. The universe would have shortened the golden threads between me and that dude, and I would have gone, sorry, I wrecked your Black Panther party. He wasn't black, but that reminds me of the moment in Forrest Gump where the dude slaps Jenny and he just goes into like automaton mode and goes, right? I think there's a sort of Buddhist purity to that, and if you don't believe me, look at the history of the Shaolin monks. Fight so you don't have to. Anyways, she wanted to hear it, and she was sick of Dan, giving him, we'll call him Dan, Gary, Fred, whatever, telling her this, like, basically ping ponging her jargon back at her in a situation where it wouldn't have helped. It had gotten her into this situation. By the way, she stopped dating that guy after she came back from her trip, and that was that. You're welcome. But it's yeah, I was just trying to take care of somebody else. That's right. So, for me, I always have. I have a long history of being around, the like kind of spiritual jargon or political jargon or bumper sticker philosophies that have limited use, like a mile marker or a signpost. It won't tell you where you came from, how you feel during your travels, and anything about the destination. It might let you know that there's a turn coming up that you need to take, or it might let you know that you've missed it and you have to go back a little bit. But it isn't the thing itself. The map is not the territory. And there are a lot of people who politically, what did Jenny die of? Cancer? She died of AIDS because Jenny and Forrest Gump were on parallel sides of all the cultural shifts, and she got all the bad parts. He got all the good parts because he didn't cling to stuff. How wise Williamson running for president? Ego. Yeah, her ego. Maybe of Hep C. Well, that was. I thought it was related to the fact that she was HIV positive, though. She suicides in the book. Oy. I did schmeck my cafe. I'm drinking coffee. Yes. Um, bulletproof coffee, by the way, with um, butter and MCT oil in it. That's it. No sugar. Mm. The book says Hep C. In the movie though, I mean, she got the idea was that she had AIDS and she was fading from it. But anyways, have you ever heard graphic audio, a movie in your mind? I have not. Electric Outcast. And hi, by the way, yo. Have you the best audio book? There are two great ones. One is The Mist by Stephen King, the binaural audio recording of that, and the what is it? Hold on, I have to find the actual title and hold on. Um, the oops, hold on. Yeah. Um, yeah. Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. Let me see if I can find it on here. There you go. Blink. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So here you go. This is it right here. Yeah. Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. There you go. I was trying to find out like the other cast members in there. But I mean, all of his stuff is great. I love Bruce Campbell. What a sweetheart. Super fun. But yeah. Sorry, I was scrolling to find something. Brink. Um, wait, with a chainsaw stuck in your arm? Yes. Yes, if Chins could talk is another one, great one. His son streams on Twitch. That's awesome. I'll have to follow him. I'll sing some Jethro Tull for you tonight. Yeah, all right. Well, not today because I've got to sing tomorrow night at the Jam. It's the tribute to Sammy Hagar. No, he did not pass away. He's around. Quit it. Not at all. Yeah, he's lovely. He's kicking it. He's doing a lot of stuff. Please pump up Johnny Million on Twitch. We will. Yes, we're gonna do a co-stream. We're working that out. He wants to get his tech situation in order, and I'm working with him on that. So we're good. I'm definitely doing that. Tomorrow night at the Whiskey, I am hosting the Ultimate Jam Night, and it is a tribute to Sammy Hagar. So I will be singing 4 songs. We got a bunch of other people showing up. It's very cool, but of course, I'm the main reason why you want to come. And I'm hosting the night, so I'll be introducing all the acts and all the artists and all the jammers that come together. Because the nature of the Ultimate Jam is, for those of you that don't know, everybody just learns the songs on their own, and we find out on like Friday, Saturday what songs they're going to be, and then everybody just learns the songs, whoever they are, and you're assigned like, hey, you're going to be playing on this song, and you're going to be playing drums on this, and you're going to be playing, like our drummers will move around and all that kind of stuff. And then if you don't know the lyrics, you got to spend all weekend learning the lyrics, and then everybody just goes up there and does it on the downbeat. No rehearsals, no practice, no nothing. It's just a jam. So you go up there and do the best you can, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, we got some really talented people, so it's well within their range. But it's amazing. So there you go. Oh, Graphic Audio, they carry the audiobooks of Remo Williams, The Destroyer. Yeah, I see those at truck stops when I'm driving to LA all the time, and I keep going, you know what? Eventually I got to get them. Because if I'm going to, like, I think that would be a good show for me to do. I would love to do The Destroyer as a series. Because unlike Reacher, he's not a big, tall dude. He's a bit funky. So, anyways, the Ultimate Jam tomorrow night at the Whiskey. It's a regular thing. If you're ever in the Los Angeles area, check the schedule. I will know hopefully by the end of the week our next 3 dates, because I've only started hosting this recently, and they've been slowly coming back since the end of COVID and the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. So we're just getting back up and running. And as it gets to be a more regularly scheduled thing, it's great. And also, if I may, I just got, and it was like late last night, where is it? Make sure it's in here. I think so. Yeah, here it is. So, they emailed it to me. Yeah, here we go. So, like March 22nd, April 19th, May 31st, June 28th, July 26th, August 30th, September 27th, October 25th, November 29th, and December 27th are my dates. I'm going to post those at Flappers. It's once a month. Basically, the last Wednesday of every month. There's a couple of alternatives because they weren't available, so I got the rest of them. But I will be at Flappers once a month. And the jam, in a lot of cases, will occasionally be the night before. So I will come in, sing a bunch, stick around, do some stand-up that night. So if at any time you're like, I think it's a good time to go to Los Angeles, it might be around those dates. I'm just throwing that out there and let you know. So anyways, is there a cover? No, there is not. It's free. They have sponsors for it, so it's a free show. You have to pay to go upstairs in the sit down area. That costs money, but just being in there, nah, it's awesome, super good. And everybody's there. The musicians play for free. Everybody's just there to have a great time. Do I make it out to the Midwest to perform any? Yes, I do. But I am between agents because I am trying to decide where to go next, because I don't need to rush. Thanks to you, lovely people. There has been a time, and I will say this, there's been times in my career where I have either been without an agent or switched agents or managers or whatever, especially during the 90s, but a couple of times, in between Queer as Folk, and I left the people that negotiated my deal on Queer as Folk, the agency I was with when I did Queer as Folk, I brought them Talk Soup. They didn't find me, and then I got Talk Soup, and then they were like, hey, we got you this. I was already in the running, had been for a long time, got the job, and then needed somebody to negotiate my contract. And so I picked this agency. I was like, I want to be with you guys. And I told you, I had met with them a year before, and they said, we love you. We think you're very talented, but we don't, you need something for this size of an agency. You gotta be on something bigger. And I'm like, well, that's obviously, why would you need a big agent if they can't get you the big jobs? You have to already have a big job to get it, but that's how it is. So I said, okay, I'll be back in a year. And a year later, I came back and I had gotten Talk Soup. And I'm like, here, negotiate that. And that's a true story. And those folks were the same ones that brought me the script for Queer as Folk, but warned me off doing it. And were like, there's this, is this, there's this shit sitcom over here. They want you to. It's not going to be on more than 2 episodes, but it's if you do the gay show, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a gay thing, and you're going to be gay forever and gay, and I don't know, and I was like, that's the one worth doing. Fuck you. And so like they they negotiated my deal under duress when I got Queer as Folk, and I as soon as the show wrapped, I left, jumped ship, and because I mean, it's like, I suppose I could have done it in the middle of it, but there was no reason because nobody's going to pick you up because they didn't have a piece of that show. So God knows how long it's going to run. So another thing about agencies is if you're on a television series and you want to switch agents, most of the time if it's past the 2nd year mark, they don't want to take you because you can't. They're not going to make any money off of you, and you can't work but a third of the year. So because you're already beholden to the other show, so they can't get you anything. So I had to wait till the show was done to start agent shopping, and I moved over to to where I went for stand up and all that. And where was I? Oh yes. Anyways, so the point being is that at that point I was like, okay, my one series just ended. There's a lot of heavy lifting in doing a show like that because while they were wrong about why I should do the show, they were right about the impact it would have on my career to some degree, and it was going to be an ice skate uphill to get other work because of the limitations in the career. And if you don't believe me, look at the rest of the cast of the show. Only a couple of us continued to work regularly, myself and Sharon Glass being the ones that worked the most because we'd worked the most or were most known before it. But it definitely did have an impact. And so again, while my agents were wrong about doing it, they were right about their suspicions about the impact it would have career-wise. Then I became Mr. Davenport says, yes, after 7 years. So wasn't automatic. And took a lot of work. It took a lot of growing my hair out and changing my look all over the place and not fitting the mold and being all that, which is one of the reasons why you do it. If you ever get a series, and this has ever happened, if I'm talking to an actor who's in the and you get a series, the last thing you want to do is look like you looked on that show ever again until, years later when it doesn't matter. But if you look for the next 3 years or 5 years like you looked on whatever that show was, you're gonna get stuff that, if it's not wholly based on that character, is at least partially based on that character. And if you're stereotyped or typecast, that's your ass. So there you go. Yeah, so I'm only 3 minutes over. This is not a Midwestern goodbye, Bill. Please. So thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. I tried. So to avoid typecasting, you got to change yourself up, and it will annoy your agents because they won't understand what the fuck you're doing, but they'll because they want you to get the next job right away that's just like the last one, lasts another 7 years, and they can just take the paycheck even if it drives your career into the ground. That's why that's the difference between a manager and an agent. A manager looks out for your whole career. An agent just looks for jobs, and that's fine. Do your shit. That's all right. But you have to take their advice as such. But in between that situation, you have to leave the agency you're with before anybody can even take meetings with you because they don't want to be viewed as poaching you, even if they were poaching you the whole time. Even if an agent, was like, hey man, if you ever think about it, if they'll say that stuff at parties, but you can't sit down in their office and have a meeting with them until you've left the other agency. Otherwise it's war. So it's a trust game. It's a trust game. You have to ditch, in some cases, the agency that I had sought to be with, which by the way no longer exists. After I left. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I run the simulation that we're all in. I'm just warning you. But so when I left that, even though it was only a month or so before I was like, oh shit. Not because I didn't think I'd have a career, but like, wonder how this works. I don't know. Because it took me so long to get to that level, and then you don't want to firebomb the level right behind you when you have no basis to work with. So I was like, I gotta, probably it probably would have behooved me. It would have behooved me to hunt around for 6-10 months and choose who I was with super carefully because I know I'm gonna get work. I always get work because I work because I'm good and I'm good at what I do, and I'll keep at it, and I don't take no for an answer. And even if it's 10 years, I don't give a shit. And so, um, I probably could have relaxed into that. However, I went straight with this one because it was obviously a step up and it was a good thing. However, um, now that that's done, because that agency was swallowed up by another giant agency, and everybody who was there who was worth a fuck uh, split. It was weird. They did basically CAA ate ICM. The FEC or the SEC went after the deal because they think it's talk about big agent. They viewed that as like an antitrust violation because it's the two biggest ones in the world, and they'd already uh, swallowed up another one. So they were like, "This CAA is just swallowing companies. We gotta, and ICM's pretty big. That's that's price fixing. There's a lot of shit going on there. So they basically put the brakes on it. And so everybody at ICM who was working there just fucking had to twiddle their thumbs. They couldn't do any work because they didn't know what company they even worked for. So, and then eventually, after a few months, most of the people couldn't wait and they took off. They split everybody in the upper echelon that had actually built the place went someplace else. Like William Morris Endeavor, same thing. Like that's the fear with the SEC is that CAA will buy ICM and then they will cake 'em, CAA ICM will buy William Morris Endeavor, and then that's the ball game, right? So that was the fear or whatever. And while that hung in the air, they all fucked off. So I was able to go, okay, I'm out of my deal. I'm out of. I don't even know that I can't have a contract with a company that doesn't exist, right? Bye. And so off I go. And so now I'm in the process of looking for somebody, um, but I'm in no hurry because I got you, babe. That's right, people. I got you. And I know people are asking for a cat. I will be right back. I get it. Well, tell him a story. Yeah? It's Mondays with Murphy. I know, buddy. Well, tell him a story. How are you? You were taking a nap? And then? This is Murphy. Murphy is our loudest cat. What's going on? I know, buddy. Well, yeah. I just came down. I wanted to give you chin scratches. Oh, yeah? You like it, but you don't like it? um, there he is. So this is everybody. This is Murphy. Murphy is a nebby, I think, is what they call him online. They all look alike. They're all like kind of jerks. I know, buddy. Hold on. I know. He's yes, you're a fighty cat, but you're very handsome. You're a handsome man. I know. Right. Yeah. All right. Hold on. Hop down. Hold on. Oh no. Yeah, you think so? I know. We'll tell him. Okay. All right. Well, what? If you don't like it, then run away. You put him down, and he's like, "What? What'd I do? Why'd you stop petting me?" Hi, buddy. Well, what's going on? Why had you going? Well, come here. What? Okay. No, you don't. Where you do it? Do you think you deserve a snack? Is that what's happening? I know. You can. He rolls over and lays on the ground. I know. I hate you. I know you hate me. I know you hate me. All right, now go upstairs. That's fine. Well, go. And he was like, "I love you, guitar." Where you go? Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, buddy. Well, come in and hang out sometime. What is it? Tell me a story, Murphy. What's your Murphy doing? What is it? Huh? What is it? You think? All right. You like the door too? You love the door. You love the guitar. You don't love me. That's how it works. What a jerk. So that's Murphy, everybody. Murphy. So the morning schedule is, and then I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you this afternoon when I'm gonna have to dunk on this Mearsheimer prick later. It's aggravating me. He was on the CCP's news service talking about that your cat is flipping out because of Murphy talking. Yeah, he's a Russian blue. He's a long hair Russian blue, but they call him a Nebby or something like that. Summer subscribes to a Instagram channel where they like everybody posts their cats like Murphy, and they all look alike, and they're all dicks. It's hilarious. But our morning schedule is, um, and then this afternoon I'm going to be aggravated. Just so you know, Murphy is just prequeling how aggravated I'm going to be at some of the clips you'll see this afternoon. And then I'm pretty sure I'm jumping in my car and driving to LA tonight so that I can be there for tomorrow for sound check and then do my thing and then come back after the show so that I can have my show from here on Wednesday. But we'll see. So he's a tool of big cat. That's right. Morning ritual is Chip jumps up on the bed and weighs about 90 pounds, so you can feel it when it happens. At about depending on which morning it is, most of the time it's after 5 a.m. If it's after 5 a.m., I get up and feed him. If it's before 5 a.m., I push him off the bed and he comes back later, multiple times. But he comes, I go feed them. Then after I feed the cats, I go downstairs. I feed Chud and Chip and Maddie, and they're the ones that eat in the morning. And then as soon as I'm done, I go up and get back in bed because I have an alarm set because I'm trying to get real sleep, but it never works. And I go back to bed for about an hour, or I try. And Maddie jumps up on the bed, and if I am sleeping on my back, which I am wont to do, she steps on my nuts, and that's pretty much alarm clock number 2. And then after, right, Murph? Right, Murph? Murphy, what is it? Hold on. What are you doing, Murph? He's like sitting by the. He's doing one of these by the window, like there's a bird. Anyways, he's not really 90 pounds. No, Treva, he is not. So he's not 90 pounds, I promise. So she steps on my nuts, and then I'm awake. There, I'm pretty much awake. At that point, I'm up. That's there's no snooze buttoning that snooze button, if you know what I'm saying. And then so I basically move her off my junk, and she sits on my chest while I pet her, and she has a broken purr. Her purr is more like that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. And then not to be confused with I think the predator noise, which is if I can do it right now. That one. So just to clarify, and so she sits right here and I just pet her until my hands are covered in orange fur. Get to the chopper, go! I can make it. Yeah, Taiwan shirt. Thanks for spotting. Yep. Um, and then she's in charge of making sure you don't get out of bed on time. So Maddie will lay on you or next to you in a way that will just suck all the productivity out of your day unless you dodge it early. So I will often roll her off towards Summer's side of the bed so that I can get out and I go get Summer coffee in the morning when we're both get up. And it's usually when I'm running around getting like setting my show and all that kind of stuff. So that's the morning ritual most days. Um, Thanks to you guys. So, anyways, um, much love. I will see you this afternoon. Smash the like on your way out the door, or if you're seeing this later and you're just watching this, use super thanks or super chats or whatever to support the show. Thank you, JD. Thank you, James. September 27th is your birthday. Oh, fantastic, James. Well, I can think of a great trip. Mine's 2 days beforehand. Um, Pooh Picker Upper, thank you. How could you find someone to close to President Carter that would be on your show? I think it's important for Americans to know before he is gone. That's a good idea, Pooh Picker Upper. I don't know. Let me ask around. That's a great idea. And then Shadow Woman, thank you for gifting the subs. So lovely of you. Helping us. And Johnny Mac, thank you as well. Ninka Crinkles, thank you for gifting subs. It makes all the difference in the world on Twitch. Hal Vickery, by the way, I don't know that I got to say thank you on Saturday for your super chat because we were dealing with all of our audio stuff with Chicago. So I wanted to say thank you if I could. And same thing with Berkeley Dowd. Um, and thanks to everybody who supports the show, our patrons, patreon.com/HalSparks. Love you guys, and I will see you later on this afternoon. Whew. All right. Now I got to go give my cat a snack.